All right, guys. We are live. A little early. So if you could help me out, let me know if, well, it would help if I actually wore a microphone, wouldn't it? So hopefully you guys can hear me. I'm with a good friend here, Nathan. If you guys have seen my channel at all, you probably know who this guy is.
Is this a space heater right underneath?
Yes, it is a space heater. There
I
you
felt
go.
the heat emanating.
It's kind of necessary. I think I mentioned before, yeah, you can just put it anywhere near like about 8 inches away. That's perfect. Good. Yeah. And just make sure to either to unplug and if you need to walk away.
I'm going to attach this. So
okay.
If I get up.
So how's everybody doing? Again, we're a little early, and early just to make sure that everything is working technically. So this is also live streaming to both Facebook and YouTube, which is always a little bit of a challenge to kind of see both audiences' commentary and stuff like that. So hopefully...
You just need another monitor.
I desperately do, which is insane because this is like a very large...
Can you get a second monitor with this setup?
Yes.
Like just a USB or something?
Yeah, I can. The problem is the monitor that they recommend has like disastrously poor reviews because of like connectivity issues and it just like interference with audio and stuff like that. It's like a really expensive like LG. It's like a 5K monitor, but it's like it doesn't work. And that's
who recommends this one?
Apple. Like that's the worst part. It's like Apple themselves are like, this is the one you guys need, and it's just no, not happening. So what's up, early people? Ryan, Brandon. Long live freedom. Jennifer and Lisa's Aquatics. Thanks. Good to have a moderator jump in early.
Keep this crowd under control.
Yeah. Just to like tase the mob occasionally. What's up? Doing a water change and watching. Nice. Good to multitask.
Yeah. Just don't lose track of that water change.
Okay, so Gangstalicious is asking about the copper piping. That's probably quite visible here. And the deal with copper piping is that you can have it, it's just you don't want your tank water flowing through it. So the way that we're using it, it's going through a closed loop. So the water that does make contact with the copper never actually makes contact with the system water. So we're running essentially freshwater closed loops through all of that stuff. Hopefully that makes sense. Once the system is actually up and running in an aquarium, we can show that off. And I know that the copper and stuff like that does not make any difference, is because that similar type of system is being used over in the greenhouse. And that's been on for
no
15 years. And of all the problems that go on at the greenhouse, copper is just simply not one of them. Plenty of other ones to choose from, but that's not it.
You just had the drone footage I saw behind us, and have you ever seen the Conan O'Brien bits where, I mean, it's back in the old school when he was on NBC where they would drive the desk around places.
No, I haven't seen that. That's what it looked like.
Yes, exactly. I was like, oh. It's
Yes, you can actually see, like, before we had poured the concrete, like what the radiant lines looked like in the ground and everything like that. That's the same system that we're going to be using for the tanks. So the same system that is like heating the concrete floor down below us is going to be heating the tanks. So yeah, it's not a great likelihood of any kind of weird pollution issues. Unless there's something like on the tubing itself on install, but it's going to be, I don't know, a couple 100 feet of coils, and there's going to be thousands and thousands and thousands of gallons of water. It's probably not a big deal. Let's see, what other comments and questions are there? Your thoughts on, is it possible for parasites that affect fish to come in on corals?
I would say potentially, yeah. Especially like ick, right? Ick drops off the fish and at some stage in their life cycle and drops to the bottom, or drops to some sort of surface. So therefore, it could be on anything that you bring in.
Interesting. Yeah, I never really thought about it that carefully, but yeah, I guess it's entirely possible. And corals do have like that mucus coat. It could probably attach some sort of pathogens that could also affect fish. I've never really heard of any documented cases of something like that happening, though. Like, oh, I added some zoas, and oh my god, all of my fish got velvet. Yeah. Like that's, I don't know. I've heard some weird stuff, but I have not heard that type of weird stuff.
That would be a pretty tough thing to prove.
Yeah, to nail down. Because I think that people don't like fully understand that how little scientific research is actually done on corals. It's like a footnote in biology. It's like, oh, there's these things in the water. You want money to do research for that? No, it's not gonna work out. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of coral biology research going on, unfortunately. So, the piping, I have to say, is the most visually appealing plumbing I've ever seen. So Lisa, I've gotten that similar feedback from a lot of longtime plumbers in the YouTube comments. Like pretty much everybody that really even, like some of like the really hardcore plumbing guys, like look at that work and they're like, it's amazing. And just knowing the guy, I can tell he really knows what he's talking about. The first day that we met him, just hearing him talk about like the radiant floor heating and stuff and like how he would do it all, it's like, this guy seems to know a whole lot, like a lot more than what I would expect from a plumber. And as I was showing and describing our reef aquarium systems and how they're being heated by a similar system, he was all about it. And that's really commendable because a lot of contractors these days are not interested in out-of-the-box type projects. Like if it is not cookie cutter, they get really scared.
And this is an out-of-the-box project.
Yes. And so luckily we were able to find a couple other really good contractors because they're willing to take on some challenging details on this type of construction that a lot of, putting in our septic, I think that we had to call like 5 or 6 different companies just to find one that would do the septic here. And it's silly because it's no different than any other septic, but because it just happens to be attached to a building like this, they freaked out. But it's, as far as like the septic is concerned, it's not different than anything else they've ever done. But they're like, nope, we don't want to touch that.
Coral? No, I don't know how that'll work with the septic. No thanks.
I'm like, no, it has nothing to do with you. Whatever.
I heard, I don't know if it was on a previous live sale, more recent, somebody described it as the plumbing as a steampunk look. And I was like, that's exactly a great way to describe it and why I find it so appealing. It is like
steampunk is a great aesthetic, though.
It is. It really is.
Like that. I mean, I think it's kind of like in fashion because of a lot of like video games and stuff like that. That aesthetic. Yeah. But no, it's like I love that that like Victorian Age of Discovery type, like what is that? Tonight from Smashing Pumpkins era like appearance. Yep. I like that stuff.
Throw in some copper pipes and steampunk it up.
Is Facebook Live faster, not on a delay, than YouTube live stream? So JGiron706, they kind of leapfrog each other occasionally. So oftentimes Facebook starts off faster, but then YouTube catches up and overtakes them and stuff.
How does that happen?
It's really strange because I think it's the way that YouTube and Facebook process the incoming video. So we're sending it at a certain rate, and then they process it for display through their system. And because of that, it could introduce like a 5-second delay between the two platforms.
Over time, there's
yeah,
a few frames here and there.
yeah, and so as that, I guess as those streams get more efficient, like the YouTube one somehow catches up. It's really bizarre. Hi, I was wondering if you will be getting any yellow hammer. We actually have yellow hammer, Jeremy.
I'll be heading over to the greenhouse to take a look.
But we're not selling any right now because it is something that we're trying to grow out for the time being, and it's like super expensive for us. And when I know that like in the future we probably won't be able to get it again, so we're going to make like an effort to try to get those things going.
Let me know if you need a satellite location to help grow it out a little.
I might, because we are like unable to grow a whole bunch of stuff that you grow really nicely, namely bounce mushrooms.
Mine are doing well.
So I think I've purchased now 3 bounce mushrooms from Nathan here.
I think your mom gave me a status report at the most recent frag swap.
They're all dead.
Yeah, that was it.
They're all dead. We might have like some other bounce mushrooms that we got from you, like the biohazard. Mm-hmm. We sold a bunch of those, so we definitely did okay on that. And then they all died.
The remaining ones?
Yeah.
Did?
So I think that like there's just something about our tanks. Like it might be just something bothering it, like something crawling on it that it doesn't like, and it just prevents it from growing, and eventually just shrinks down into nothing.
Too many mandarins.
Yeah, or something.
I'm just kidding.
Who knows?
Your dad told me he picked up another one.
Yeah, that's like an ongoing thing that goes on here. Like my dad.
That's been ever since I've known you.
Yeah, pretty much. Like
I think the first time I was here, he was talking about how he bought 2 more. And
so my parents went to a frag swap locally up in Cleveland, and the next day I walk in. First thing is I didn't even notice the mandarins. There was something else. It was like there was like a sea urchin in my tanks, and it had like it went through my live sale rack, and it just started grabbing. Well, item number 99 is like on this thing's back and running down the tank. And it just went straight for like the live sale organizational racks, and it just started throwing stuff on its back and just doing laps. And I'm like, okay, how many urchins are in this tank? It's like, this is not cool.
They just buy random creatures and throw you don't know, and they just end up in your tanks.
Yeah, I mean, it was so stupid. And then it's like, there's a mandarin in here. What in the heck? Why is there a mandarin? And then you see another one. And it's like, why are there 2 mandarins in here now? But no, like my dad contributes, and I have to kind of like put up with some eccentricities.
Oh, they're on an airplane right now, right? So they can't be watching. They're not watching. So
They're not. Well, they might be watching because. Okay, so.
Shout out
to the mom and dad.
Yeah.
Like right after this live show, I was supposed to go to the airport, pick them up, because they've been in Asia for the past 3 weeks. And they were in Japan and Korea. And on the way back, though, their flight was like delayed by an hour. So they might not be able to get their connecting flight from San Francisco to Cleveland. So there might be a chance that I don't have to pick anybody up. So we'll see.
We'll find
out. Any plans for international shipping? I was actually talking to somebody that in Canada about international shipping. It is the longest of long shots. There's so much that goes into that we're not really into. So there's a lot of paperwork, there's a lot of expense, and it only makes sense if there are insane volumes involved. So it's like if you wanted like 4 corals, that's not going to get it done. If you wanted 500 corals, that's more of a possibility. But it's really challenging to get all that I guess that regulatory framework and just the logistics of it, because like just getting it across an international border, it's a really big deal. Not sure if you're familiar with Chemipure Blue, but do you know if it's possible to use too much? I have not used that. Have you used that before?
No, but my question is, what is it used for? If it's like a GFO replacement, or alternative, or carbon. I mean, yeah, probably. Pretty much anything in the reefing hobby can be too much.
Yeah, especially like the GFO.
Yes,
that could be overdone.
GFO is extremely overused by a lot of people at times. And I just recently, a friend of mine had his phosphates were, he had a 90 or 120 gallon system. His phosphates were like 0.31. I gave him some high capacity GFO, just a small amount. He may have used less than a quarter of a cup for 4 hours and dropped it below 0.1. So it dropped from 0.31 to 0.08 is what he said within 4 hours, which opened my eyes to how effective and disruptive it could be. Even if you have high phosphates, you want to bring them down a little bit, but that's a huge drop, and it could easily drop them below detectable levels, which is going to definitely affect corals over the short term. They're not going to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
So and GFO it's very effective. It can be useful, but extreme moderation with that. So
it's basically carbon and purigen. So again, what's purigen? Is that the GFO component?
We need confirmation, but I think it is.
Yeah, if somebody could do that.
So GFO is much easier to overuse in a short time frame than carbon. Carbon does filter out some stuff, but GFO really hits nutrients that the corals are possibly used to, and will definitely have an effect.
Yeah.
In fact, when I would add too much at one time, I'd see paling in acros, which you think acros want low phosphates. Well, you're changing it very quickly, and they don't like that.
No, definitely any kind of rapid chemical change like that's not going to do well. Do you still use phosphate removers?
I use GFO small amounts, like once every other month.
Okay.
And just to keep the phosphates down a little bit, but my phosphates are generally somewhere between 0.1 and 0.18, and I'm fine with that. Where they say
0.1.
Not 0.01, but 0.1.
0.1 part per million.
Yes, where a lot in the past
it was like 0.005 or something like that.
Yeah, or 0.05. Or,
do you know what on one of my systems what my level is
for phosphates?
Yeah,
2. Nah.
it's close. 1.
1.
It's 1 part per million.
Yeah.
We do have red cyanobacteria.
Yeah.
But it's not like all red cyanobacteria that you might expect at that level. Can you comment on how Worldwide Coral oversaturates all their coral pictures? Well, I'm not going to throw shade on Worldwide Coral or anybody in particular, but that is kind of the industry to some degree. But at the same time, a lot of what corals look like has to do with lighting. So we've had customers that had a problem with how stuff looked that we've sold. And I said, could you provide me a picture of your setup? And I have never seen somebody use yellower lights in my whole life. It's like they took basically like a 60-watt incandescent light bulb, and then they put it over their coral, and they're like, "See, it doesn't look right." I'm like, that's not gonna look right ever. It's not even that it doesn't look right. It looks exactly how it's supposed to look under that lighting. I mean, I've seen super extreme cases, or actually a lot of our corals are very daylight shot, and I mean sometimes I see the bluest of the blue craziness, and so they're not it's like, oh, this thing doesn't have any color. Well, because that coral doesn't actually fluoresce. And so in their all blue actinic tank, it's not going to show up any of its normal coloration. That's the non-fluorescent stuff. And so they're like, yeah, I'm like, yeah, it's like to get that appearance, you need something closer to 10,000 Kelvin. So yeah, lighting makes a huge, huge difference. And I think that if a company is going out of its way to like oversaturate stuff, because I mean, like one of my favorite suppliers, he oversaturates stuff like crazy to the point where I just like ignore his photography. It's just like, dude, I have no idea what that looks like in person. So yeah, I get you on that. All right, guys, it's time to go. Okay. So, live show is officially beginning. Hopefully you guys have an appetite for some large polyp stony corals, because that is the entire gist of this particular show, which is funny that I have Nathan on, because I think that Nathan is transitioning to mostly SPS at this time. Do you still have some LPS?
Oh yeah. Okay. Chalices, and in the display tank it's mostly acros and then mushrooms, but the frag tank is favias and chalices stacked to the brim.
Okay. I'll definitely need to once we get some new aquariums in here, I definitely want to pillage this guy's collection again. It's just that we're like so out of room for stuff here. Like in the greenhouse, there's like so much like corals upon corals upon corals all fighting each other now. Like it's like I just need more space, and then it's not going to come until April. This sucks, but it's getting there.
So going back to that Purigen and the, what was it, Chemi-Pure Blue? Purigen removes organics before they turn into nitrates. So going all the way back to that, I would say yes, you can overuse.
Does that sound to like some carbon dosing, biopellety type activity?
I don't think it's uses bacteria as the engine. I think it's more actually binds them and
like physically like carbon would
in some
for
sort. Yeah,
interesting.
Sort of. And if that's true, I mean, you can, if you're reducing nitrates or nutrients at any point in the reef aquarium, it can be overdone. Case in point, I used to run biopellets and would see negative effects by using too many biopellets, and I'm now to the point where I do no longer use biopellets, and I let my nutrients, nitrates and phosphates, at what has traditionally been thought of over at higher levels than is ideal. But I've found that has worked very well for all varieties of coral in my tank.
I'm noticing that a lot of aquarists, I mean, you came in at a time, I think, where like GFO and a lot of the carbon, like the carbon bacterial methods were really kind of,
they were just starting, especially biopellets and carbon dosing, the liquid carbon, like vodka dosing.
Vodka and like ammonia, not ammonia, but like vinegar, and then there's some like specialized products. And I never really got into that. And whenever I did like just dip my toe into those waters, I had horrifically bad results.
Well, I don't know if it's just the nutrients, but the biopellets was definitely taking something away that the corals wanted. I had some favias that I had gotten. One's just beautiful, and it went brown, and it just for years colorless. Still was surviving. And then once I took biopellets off, I started to see the color come back around, and now it's back to full coloration, and it's just beautiful. So like my nitrates, I don't care as long as they're below 25 or 20, and above 5, I'm fine with it. And then phosphates, like I said, between 0.1 and 0.18, that range is just fine for me. And the way I've actually my tank has kind of settled into is just water changes and a little bit of carbon, a little GFO every other month. And
as far as like removal goes.
Yes, yep, just keeping, and then the tank's at naturals filtration, like bacteria, whatever's going on in there, handles the rest.
So I kind of had a similar experience in that like a higher nutrient level, unless it gets out of control.
Yes,
is actually really, really helpful for coral health. And I also understand though like the philosophy of the ultra low nutrient side of things, where you're kind of like starving the coral back to get a very specific appearance, but at the same time I think that, and everybody says this, you're kind of walking this really fine line between a certain aesthetic that you like and a complete colony crash. Because any slight problem that occurs could mean the end of everything at that point, because the corals just don't have a whole lot of reserves remaining to fight off whatever issue that might be going on. So yeah, like in our systems, whenever we try to do any kind of ultra low anything, it went sideways in a hurry. Like it didn't take, and we were using like a half or even a quarter of the recommended dosages of stuff. It didn't matter. And like in a couple weeks, everything was like looking really bad.
Yeah.
So I think it was Billy Pipes was mentioning, I removed my Purigen, the corals became super happy. And I think that could be, again, it was removing something that the corals really needed for nutrition.
Yeah, and Adam's asking if can I balance that out by heavily feeding? At some point it's like, why? Well, you're kind of fighting yourself back and forth, and
yeah,
my recommendation would probably be reduce the use of that product and see what happens with your nitrates and phosphates, and see what happens, see how your corals react, and you know, keep an eye on your nutrients, but don't freak out if they start to rise a bit. Just see what happens, and then you can moderately add back the Chemic Pure if you need to.
So, I mean, to some degree, we always do this, right? We are always providing nutrients, and we're always, hopefully, doing some sort of nutrient export, whether it's like water changes or like aggressive skimming, whatever it might be. So it's not like completely out of the realm of possibility to be using some sort of chemical filtration and also trying to make up with some kind of food additive or whatnot, or for anything. But I think it's how aggressive the chemical filtration stuff is compared to a protein skimmer or a water change.
It might surprise you how quickly the chemical filtration filters that stuff out. You may be adding all that food, but within a couple hours, it's bound up. You know, any nitrate and phosphate's bound up in the chemical filtration, and the corals never really have a chance to get to it.
Yeah,
they might get some pieces of food, but you know, they're also, you know, they're not getting that in the water. So
yeah, I could see that
on a consistent basis. Just when you're feeding is the only time they ever have a chance of getting any sort of food.
So Acidic Burrito is asking, what's the outdoor temperature range that dictates whether you will ship coral or not? These days, I don't really like to ship corals if it's a lot below 30 degrees Fahrenheit. We've done it before with not great results. And the thing is, when you ship with like a typical carrier, we currently ship with FedEx, and if something happens to be a DOA, there's no FedEx policy that's going to cover a live animal shipment. So it always falls back on us. So we take care of the customer. So if somebody loses their $700 Master Scully, we cover that. Like, FedEx does not cut us a check for anything. So the only time that FedEx actually would refund shipping for us is if literally nothing in the world was wrong and they just were late. So if they can point to any problem, there was fog, there was some frost on the plane, their driver called off, anything that they can point to, it's not going to get covered, which is like really bizarre as to like, what is the point of like your guarantee if there's something wrong, it's not guaranteed.
There's some frost.
Yeah, frost, totally a thing. Yeah, and any kind of like local geographic disturbance, not covered. So anyway, when it comes to temperature, we don't really feel like taking a huge risk anymore. We're not going to be like some shipping cowboys. And FedEx has had a really bad week this past. Oh yeah, like they've been really bad to the point where I'm considering switching to UPS. So we'll see. I'll keep you guys posted on that drama. But hasn't been a good week for FedEx. They shipped to the wrong address.
Do you think your rep's watching?
Get
the message?
So I used to have this FedEx rep. I think her name was like Jessica or something, and she was awesome, like awesome. And I was like, everything got resolved. Everything. She was like super responsive, and then she got promoted and just replaced with some Chad. And I'm like, dude, this guy's clearly not the same promotional material. So yeah, and actually right around that same time, everything else fell apart with FedEx. So it's like what happened? Like this, like a light switch went on and everything just went to hell.
Okay, we're being too nice to everybody.
Yeah.
Somebody asked, I saw, what do you think the most effective way to keep phosphates and nitrates at optimal values close to natural seawater?
This is Dino Fernando asking, yeah.
I would say water changes. And
some people like to really poo-poo on the water change thing.
That's fantastic.
It's so good. It's so easy. Like, I think that that's a weird thing to aspire to. It's like no water changes. Like, it's very strange. And I think it's a very new school thought process where it's like, I've even had people say this in the comments to my videos. It's like, that is some old school thinking. You don't need to do water changes anymore. I'm like, son, you haven't done this very long. That's exactly what I think was when anybody tells me something like that. It's like, you've clearly not done this for very long.
So to be fair, I have automated system set up after years of doing manual water changes. But so my system's probably around 340 gallons of total volume, maybe closer to 300. But I'll fluctuate it between 7 to 14 gallons a day. I'll change the system depending on what I'm seeing going on in the tank from a nutrients level. Because if the nutrients are getting a little high, I just up the water changes a little bit. And it makes a more gradual change, and then we're good. So that's the smoothest way I find to keep control of just about everything in the tank. I do 2-part dosing, or 3-part if you include magnesium, but I think water changes. And ever since I instituted that consistent automatic water change, things have run so much smoother.
I bet, yeah. Like for us in a commercial setting, like we remove so much water just from like the shipping process and stuff like that. We're basically doing like small water changes every day just by topping off. So Tech Year Talk, give Nathan +3 dB. Thank you. Nathan is a tough person to audio monitor.
Really?
You are. Because, and so this is going to make him so self-conscious. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Here comes the awkward rest of the live show as I'm...
So...
Because I have a loud laugh, all of a sudden I'm like, boom.
You have these 2 volumes. You have like normal talking voice,
and then I get my excited.
And then you have the excited, and so he'll like redline clip the mics on the excited part. So I turn him down a little bit, and then he like chills out and does like the low Nathan voice, and so I'm like, okay, I need to turn him back.
Don't listen to me with headphones on.
So hopefully that sounds better.
Well, you need to get somebody else in here running the mixing board, just in case, once I start to get a little excited. And...
But it's always interesting to have like the different guests on, because like I've had most people here a couple of times, so I kind of know in advance, of what to expect. So like Rico.
You have everyone's audio profile.
I know. It's like just in my head here. It's like, oh wait. We need to tone that down. Yeah. But so like Rico, for example, he's pretty consistent. Whenever I have like Will on, I know I need to crank him up because he's like so like low. Stuff like that. And when I have like Suzanne is here, it's like she starts off like normal volume, and as she gets drunker, because I have to tone that back down. Barat Betty, hello from Dubai.
Hello,
welcome.
Dubai.
Welcome.
I saw somebody else say hello from Brazil.
Oh, Brazil's here. Great.
You're hitting up some continents.
It's always interesting to see all the folks from like overseas that tune into the show, see what they're interested in.
I'm gonna go home and tell my wife that I'm big in Dubai. I'm the David Hasselhoff of Dubai.
Yeah, there you go.
He's big in Germany. I'm big in Dubai.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I wanted to see if there's ever actually any Facebook stuff going on. Usually it's like a 10-to-1 YouTube to Facebook. Oh, see, I have to like constantly, I have to like constantly refresh this Facebook because we missed a whole bunch of people. We missed like 10 comments. What the heck? So, yeah. Hi, Krista Pecchia.
Yes, hi Krista, hi BJ, Will, Bill Jr. He goes by so many different names. You gotta watch out for him. Actually, I have a couple of coral, or I have one coral remaining in my tank from him that he gave me to safeguard, and it is doing well. I believe it's the Walt Disney.
Yeah?
And the other one died.
Whoops. It happens,
yeah,
right?
Sorry.
It happens.
It died quickly. It wasn't happy about something. I don't know, the transition.
I'm like too scared to try any of like the super high-end acros right now with my systems.
Speaking of those, I have the home wrecker. I've had it for maybe 2 years now, or a year and a half. It's the best it's ever looked in my system, and I attribute it to the Alkatronic, the automatic alkalinity tester that I have. I've had my rock solid stable for months now, and the pinks and the purples and all the colorations are coming out very nicely.
So could you like go over your, I guess, the entire calcium and alkalinity system, like from the ground up?
How I have it on my tank?
How he currently has it.
All right. So from a parameter standpoint, I try and keep calcium around 400 to 420. Alkalinity, I keep closer to. I've actually found between 8.5 and 9 seem to work really well with my for my system, and then magnesium around 1350. I have just dosing pumps programmed by 1 minute increments based on my apex. So my apex turns on like calcium for 3 minutes an hour at 10 milliliters a minute. So that's like 30 milliliters, I guess. Mm-hmm. And then I have another dosing pump for alkalinity that comes on for 10 to 12 minutes every hour. It kind of has a scale to it because I've found alkalinity demand is higher during the day when the lights are on. So I add a little bit more alk. That's at 1 minute or 1 milliliter per minute. So, you know what? It's like 1 to 2 minutes for calcium. I actually dose a little less calcium than I do alkalinity from a volume standpoint. Anyways, that's how that's set up. Then I have this testing machine called the Alkatronic that tests every 8 hours the alkalinity of this system. If it is too low, for whatever reason, that Alkatronic machine will then dose based on its calculations. I've input what my system volume is. It will dose a makeup volume to try and bring it back into my set parameters. If it's too high, it notifies me, but I also have it set up. If it gets way too high, it reports to my apex, and my apex will shut off any alkalinity dosing until it gets back within my parameters. So
is it dosing the same stuff that your other doser is?
Yes, it has a tube right into the same reservoir, which I need to fill up today, actually.
Okay.
I'm just about to run out, but...
And you're using like just the BRS stuff or using something else?
The BRS dry mix. I mix it up myself with RO water.
Yeah.
So...
Are you ever worried that it's just going to have it's just going to report like a wrong value and then just start going crazy?
It has algorithms built into it that it's not going to, if it like has an error, first of all, if its test diverges too much from a previous test, it runs an immediate another test, and it keeps running additional tests until it has like 2 consecutive results that are very similar. So that way it knows if something threw the first test off, it'll keep testing itself before it doses it to my tank.
Okay.
So back to back, it takes about 10 minutes to test, and it'll just, you'll see it say retesting.
So are there like reagents associated with the testing part?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a little reagent. It's some sort of acid solution that it puts into the tank water, and it has a pH probe in there
Oh, okay.
And it mixes it and gets the pH reading, and then it adds a little bit of the acid solution at a time, and it calculates how much acid it's added to reach the specific pH, which then through the calculations tell it what the alkalinity is. So it even has a little magnetic mixer in there, and it drains it, rinses it, drains it out into just a little reservoir I have.
So for it to scale up that, it's not anything that you would need like a different device for. It's just the amount of the calcium or alkalinity portion that would have to go back in. Is that basically it? So for example, where I'm going with that is your system total water volume is what, 300 you said?
Yeah, let's see. Yeah.
So if somebody wanted to do it for like a much bigger system, the only difference, like you don't need to have like a bigger Alkatronic. You just need to have it dose more stuff to get it to a certain level.
Yes, but then again, this Alkatronic device it's only meant to be a supplemental to your traditional dosing. So this is just an emergency. Hey, your dosing pumps aren't dosing enough, or whatever. For whatever reason, you're low. Here's some extra to get you back into the range. The company I don't know if they have, but I know they will be releasing an actual dedicated dosing pumps as well that can kind of work in tune with it.
That'd be kind of interesting.
That I know for sure.
So just for the folks at home there, I've never actually used a dosing pump system, and I've talked to a couple of different folks that keep systems of this scale, and they've kind of like gone through the same progression that I have, as far as like calcium reactors, water changes, and whatnot. And they really like the two-part stuff also. And they're kind of going away from calcium reactors and into the two-part land. And sometimes it's just to do their due diligence and give it a try. But they're very happy so far going with that route. So if you guys are like familiar with the stream, you're kind of like seeing just different perspectives. Like Rico is all about basically at one time no water changes and calcium reactors. I'm about a lot of water changes and calcium reactors, and now you're seeing water changes plus very high-end two-part dosing.
And it's interesting, if I stop, because when I mix a new batch of salt water, I stop my automatic water changes for about 12 hours. You'll see my alkalinity readings drop from the stopping water changes, because I use reef crystals, which have higher alkalinity than my system, so it's actually dosing a little bit extra alkalinity in itself. So then on occasion, the Alkatronic will kick on its dosing pump just to make up for it. So this instrument is very sensitive. It will measure the little changes, and you can see different times or different causes, and you'll know why it's changing.
Gotcha.
Somebody said, "Do you insure?"
Hold on, I need to get to the super chat though. Two please with the $1.99 super chat. Thank you very much, man.
So they can toss money your way on YouTube now. Is that what's happening?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Twitch donation.
Yeah.
Of sorts. Yeah.
Somebody was asking if I stagger the addition of calcium alkalinity. Yes. The beginning of each hour is calcium, and then on the half hour is when alk kicks in, so that they're not mixing and precipitating in the sump. Somebody else asked, I'm not quite sure if they're asking about magnesium. My magnesium supplementation is I mix it up in a gallon jug, and I add about 1/3 of a gallon into the new salt water. The clean saltwater mix that I have that then eventually gets pumped into the tank, 7 to 14 gallons a day. So that's how I supplement my magnesium.
Okay,
with
makes
a
sense.
third of a gallon per 50 gallons of salt water. That's how it works out. That one's more of a pinch of salt here or there,
I've heard worse pinch of salt ideas. Like one of my friends, he just likes the feeling of dosing something every morning, so he just does like the little droplets of stuff in the tank. And I'm like, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah, I'm measuring, you know, magnesium at times.
Don't do that. Don't do that. It's like, yeah. So yeah, chat's slow. So like maybe like a Nathan is super captivating. Occasionally, like we have a guest on, and that's like so like great at storytelling. We had the guy from Jayo Nation, and he came over for like a what was that? Like a St. Patrick's Day live stream, and the chat was like silent, like for like an
sitting
hour.
there like, oh, I like this.
So real quick, on Facebook, Mad Hatter's Reef, what's up? David Joseph Garcia, hello. I wish I could get this to like show up and be like auto updating my Facebook feed, but I have to actually manually hit the refresh button. That's why I apologize to the Facebook crowd that I'm not getting to your highs and hellos quite so fast. And yeah, hopefully you guys can see chat, because Two Please is having some difficulty seeing chat. So real quick in chat, if you can hear me, yeah, chat's working. Okay, good. Just checking. It's like I know it ain't crickets. I see that there's like 145 currently watching. So. By the way, you're more than welcome to go grab a drink if you like.
Okay.
Just make sure to detach.
I just noticed I had a message from my wife, so I had to.
Uh-oh. It's time to go.
Nope. Yeah, she's going to a concert tonight, some sort of country concert, so she's quite happy.
Nice. I can see and hear both good. It's always good to kind of like just check every now and again just to make sure that the stream is live. I mean, so many times and when people like do live streams, it's like a total cluster because like so many things can go wrong, you know, with audio, with video, with the stream itself, just your internet. So it's just nutty.
It's nice when it's moving along correctly.
Yeah, and sometimes you just need to see that feedback, right? You just need to like see, okay, just checking. The stream is working, and especially now that like there's so many more like YouTubers and other I guess online personalities that are getting more into like the live thing. So like today I've already seen 2 other live shows while setting up for this one.
The battle for live audience.
Yeah, there was actually like some beef that people had, not me, but like some other folks had about streaming times.
Turf.
Yes,
yeah,
it's
turf
like,
wars
yeah,
for
like,
streaming time.
It was the weirdest thing. Like nobody has to like be beholden to anybody else as far as scheduling these things goes.
Same thing happened with frag swaps. There used to be very few frag swaps, and then they started they're all over the place, and then people, even different parts of the country are getting upset with other people about when they schedule their swaps because it draws certain vendors or
There was a time when there was only one frag swap here. And I remember like the second time that this frag swap was organized, it was literally in my friend's living room. And then it got bigger and bigger. And then like, so that was in like Northeast Ohio. And then Columbus wanted to do their frag show. And so they worked it out to be like 6 months apart.
Yep.
And then like more and more and more to the point where like there's probably 6 frag swaps in Ohio now.
Yes, at least. I can think of 4 quickly.
And I don't go to any of them. It's awful.
You did you live streamed during the last one. You had a live show.
Exactly. It's hard to justify going to a show sometimes. As a vendor, it's hard.
Oh, I would believe that.
Will the new building be up and running by the end of 2019? Boy, I hope so, Dominic. Boy, I hope so. Hopefully, we're going to be getting our tanks in April, and shortly thereafter, have things up and running. But we'll see. The construction stuff definitely has taken a lot longer than we were anticipating. Like, I figured worst case scenario, like December, would have been like the time when all the construction stuff would be done. We're talking maybe end of December if we're lucky. And we've never been lucky as far as this goes. So we'll see. Like Nathan is kind of like chuckling because he had a major remodel done on his house, and that probably took forever.
Took longer than expected, but I was also living in the house at the same time.
Yeah.
I had roofs ripped off, so
yeah.
No kitchen for a few months.
Your live stream is the best quality out there. Thank you. We put a lot of effort into this. I'll be perfectly honest. We do a whole bunch to try to prepare for this show.
You just saw the studio look here with the you got a boom mic.
Yeah, it's not even plugged in. It's just hanging out.
We got 1, 2, can't even look directly at them. 3, 4, 5 different lights of various.
Yeah. We even have like what's called the hair light, which puts a little bit of glow on our obviously our head. Shows the back of the shoulders.
Shows the gray hair.
The gray, yeah.
Highlights the gray.
I've given up on even pretending that I don't have all gray hair. So let's see. What other questions do people have? Very few about LPS. That or we've missed literally every single question, which is also possible. Phytoplankton question. Started dosing it to my tank and saw amazing results. Pods, sponges, and others. Why aren't others adding it or speaking to it? Seems you can't not true, and can't culture it. Okay, so fragile reefer. I think that phytoplankton is great. You 1000% can overdo it. Usually the form that overdosing takes is cyanobacteria, because it is highly nutritious, what you're dumping into your tank. I have accidentally dosed a 1-year supply of phytoplankton into my tank by accident. And let me tell you, some of the coral reactions that I got were mind-blowingly positive. Like a lot of the filter feeders, a lot of the non-photosynthetic stuff.
They thought a whale died on them.
Yeah, basically. Like, so if you guys are familiar with what a dendronephthia is, it's like a carnation coral, very challenging to keep. And usually what happens is people try to keep them and they slowly starve over the course of like a month or two. I had one, we were giving this automatic feeding of refrigerated phytoplankton a try. And that's when that doser got a little bit goofy and dosed the entire year worth into the tank. And that dendronephthia was like 5 times the size in the morning. Like you couldn't see a foot into the tank. Like that's how green it was. But that coral was in heaven. So you can definitely overdo it. And after that, we just had to basically just do tons of water changes. They had to run the UV sterilizer to kill off all the stuff in the water column so you could see into the tank. It was rough. Dave Davis, hello guys, with the $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Dave. Appreciate it so much. Every little bit helps. I cannot stress that enough.
Somebody, is it Kyle, asked if Kyle Aquaria, does Nathan discharge the Alkatronic test sample back into the tank or into a waste vessel? It goes into a 1-gallon waste vessel, and I need to empty that once every week and a half or 2 weeks.
It's interesting. Like I would give that thing a try if I had like a regular home aquarium. Like out here, I think it might be.
If you end up with the new systems you set up, if you're going with like an SPS system,
mm-hmm.
I would, obviously you have people who work here that could test every day anyways, but
that ain't happening. So
then I would consider it. I would if I were you. For the alkalinity.
How much is an Alkatronic?
I think it's $700, $800.
Okay, so it's a pricey piece of kit.
Yes,
but it's not
It's not outrageous relative to the hobby.
Relative to the value of stuff in your tank.
Yes.
700 ain't that bad.
Yeah, I was able to pay for it pretty quickly with a few frags of cutting up a few frags
of good
corals,
stuff, of the goodies.
Of the good stuff.
Too pleased. You're having all kinds of issues with chat. Weird. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. It seems like something's going on your end.
The other day, sometimes I stay after work a little bit later because then I'm going to the gym and just the timing of things. It was Monday, and I was going to watch a portion of your live stream with Rico as the guest. Mm-hmm. So I was watching a little bit, but it kept cutting in and out, and I found out YouTube in general was having trouble. It wasn't during your actual broadcast; it was the recording, but I couldn't play the recorded.
Oh, interesting.
Which then I was able to Wednesday. And then I wanted to comment on things that you guys were talking about, and I was like, well, this already happened like a few days ago, and I can't interject in your conversation because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's so tough to diagnose some stream issues.
It was a known YouTube problem. Like I looked.
Was that the like the 2-hour thing?
Yeah, like I saw a heat map of all the problems throughout the country, and
which, by the way, like most people think that had to have been intentional because YouTube just simply cannot go down like that. Because there's way too many like distribution servers. Like
what are they trying to prove a point?
Well, no, I think that there were like a lot of the people, as far as like that YouTube blackout thing, was specifically because that was also coincidentally the time when they were disintegrating Google Plus as well. And so they might have had to take that down to remove the Google Plus. Do you remember, I don't know if you guys were, because they did this stupid thing to try to promote Google Plus, where they mandated YouTube accounts to tie in with Google Plus. And once Google Plus kind of failed and then got hacked, they said, no, we're not doing Google Plus anymore. But then to rip that out, that was deeply integrated into Google and YouTube, it's like you're probably gonna have to restart some stuff.
Yeah.
That's probably what happened. Dave is loving these mini streams. I kind of thought that they would be a little bit more popular because I think oftentimes people are looking for something very specific, and when we're doing like the big live show, there's just kind of too much to kind of like wade through. Like if you're looking for specifically LPS, and we're going through our SPS section, and we could be on that SPS section for like an hour. That might be a little bit too long for somebody to take an hour out of their day to wait for the LPS to start back up again. So we kind of like broke it up into SPS, LPS, and we still plan on doing like the soft coral / zoanthid one, but we're actually low on soft corals and zoas, so that one kind of got bumped into like the bigger show. Speaking of the bigger show, we're not going to be doing anything for Black Friday, but we will be doing something for Cyber Monday. So I think that if you check on our little schedule thing on the tidalgardens.com/live, you'll see that on Monday we're going to be starting up at 5 p.m. So right after the workday, you can come hang out with us, get some good Cyber Monday deals. Have you guys seen a mini scolie? It's a Micromussa pacifica though. I have not seen that. Is it the same thing as like a button scolie? Or what's called a button scolie? What do y'all think about the balling method? This is Dayton Dingman.
Is the balling method the 2-part dosing and a magnesium dosing?
Yeah, and I think it's a little bit more than that now. But that was my understanding.
I like it. That's the only way I've ever run my tank. I don't know,
Yeah, there might be some slight differences. So Dayton Dingman, real quick, if you could summarize it in 120 characters. I could be wrong, but I thought it said Acanthastria earlier, but now it says Micromusa. Why the change? So that's a good question. Why the change, right? So what used to be an Acanthastria lordhowensis got reclassified into Micromusa. And this happens fairly regularly when it comes to like taxonomy. Things do bounce around, especially at the genus level, because really like genus and species, those are the last two like refinement categories, right? So it's not completely, out of the realm of possibility for stuff to jump either species or genus. That happened fairly recently within like the last couple years with acans. And to the point where a lot of people still call them acans. And I don't know exactly what the protocol is, but somebody on one of my videos was talking about that, and he said using it by its former name isn't technically incorrect, but there are these other things at work, and I'm like, what's the point? So as far as like as a reef keeper, it changes nothing. Like clearly, you're not going to do anything differently, but when it comes to like putting it on a website for sale, what do you call it and stuff, I think that there is, a push to use the right scientific terminology. But I mean, a lot of this stuff, it is kind of like a moving target. William Henry's asking, with your water volume, do you think that you'd even have as much
of an alk swing?
Of an alk swing? You'd be surprised at how much stuff does swing in our tanks. It could just go crazy. Like you wouldn't think that much would change. Like when I first built the greenhouse, every single system was 1,000 gallons, and I was thinking, I don't even know how important temperature control is, because it's just like they're big water volumes, they're big heat sinks. And it turned out that it can lose a degree per hour. It's this is really bad.
Yeah.
Like if our heating goes down in the winter, you need to get that fixed right now. Like it's not going to work out. On Facebook, Jessica Michelle purchased my first coral from you recently. So happy with the quality of the specimen. Thank you so much. I'm glad you like it. That's always good to hear, because lately we've been having some shipping issues. And so, like, I'm just glad that it showed up at this point. William Arthur Nunn. Oh, I did see that one before. It's like when I get my tank back to where it needs to be, you have to beat me to Nathan's collection. I'm sure that a lot of people are after Nathan's collection. He's curated a very nice stash.
Where is your tank at, William? Tank back to where it needs to be. Just do a water change.
Nathan is trolling me now. No, I'm not trolling you. So he said it's the tropic Marin method. Basically, each major element will have a trace element along with it, ones that don't chemically react with each other. It's to keep the water ionically balanced. Interesting.
That was the balling method that we were talking about? Yeah, I mean, I do relatively large water changes, so that's kind of how I substitute the trace elements.
Yeah, I think that people kind of overrate what a trace element is. So if you look at imagine the saltwater composition as like a big pie. You have obviously sodium and chloride taking up the bulk of that to be salt, and then like the major elements, calcium, alkalinity, magnesium. Even potassium is pretty big on that pie. You don't hear too much about potassium because it's a lot less bioavailable. But then when you're talking about trace elements, all of them, like iodine, all the weird ones, boron and all that stuff, less than 1%. Less than 1%. So when you're like my friend that wants to just be blindly adding iodine into his tank every morning, that's not a great idea, because a lot of these trace elements show up in your tank in super tiny quantities. And I think if you want to do that, if you want to do that type of supplementation, be sure you're actually testing for it. And I think that pretty much goes with anything. Before you add anything in your tank, make sure that you're testing for it. In my case, all that we do is calcium reactor and water change. So it's a very, very basic thing. And not to say that we don't have goofy water chemistry, sometimes we do, and we should be testing more. But yeah, I get worried when people are doing a lot of the trace element stuff, because I think that's a very easy thing to sell to a consumer, but it's a lot easier or a lot more difficult to make really work for you.
And again, there's the old adage of don't add anything you don't test for.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Of course, yeah, you could use those ICP tests where you send it away and get your readings.
Have you done that before?
No, I don't think I want to, because then I'll start dosing. Then I'll start dosing little drops of trace elements. Like, well.
Oh no.
And then I'm
gotta get on top of that.
I better send my test away again. If I were having major problems and I was beating my head against the wall and couldn't figure out what was going on, I would do one of those tests. But when things are going very well, corals of all varieties look great in my tank for like the first time ever. In the past, I've done real well with SPS and a lot of LPS, but softer corals, other than bounce mushrooms. But other types of mushrooms would fade away and melt. You'd just shrink. They wouldn't just disappear. They would shrink. You'd see them getting smaller and smaller. And I think part of that was related to the overuse or even maybe just the use of biopellets. And once I've gotten rid of those, some of those mushrooms have come back, or I've gotten new varieties of those mushrooms and they do wonderful. So
okay, huh?
And after getting rid of biopellets, I was using GFO still at a larger amount than I do now, and then I started to really be able to equate the changing of GFO, and within a couple days, some paling in certain colors, or paling in certain colors of corals, but also the soft corals and mushrooms. You could immediately tell they were not happy.
Yeah, I would think that especially with mushrooms that would want a ton of seemingly excess nutrient would really struggle if a whole bunch of other stuff got ripped out from under it.
That being said, the bounce mushrooms never had that problem, so I have no clue how you kill them.
I'm consistent. We've like I said, we've killed 3 of his bounce mushrooms, like the really nice ones too. They're doing so well, and it's like, gone. We're missing an ongoing conversation
about the acans. 4 varieties aren't there within the past few weeks. Some of them are.
Mine don't always open during the day, but will after lights out. Well, a lot of corals will open after lights out, but acans, if you feed them regularly, will kind of change their behavior to open up during the day. And when we were our most successful with acans, we fed so consistently that basically their tentacles were out 24/7. And they grew huge. They multiplied their polyps like crazy. Nowadays, I think our systems are poorly set up to do a lot of active feeding. And I think that because of that, our acans have kind of struggled as a result. So with our new systems, I want to be able to do a lot more as far as being able to directly feed those guys. So like the biggest thing when it comes to feeding LPS and stuff like that, biggest thing that helps is just to be able to completely shut off all your pumps. Feed the tank, let it sit for 20 minutes, turn the pumps back on. That will make a gigantic difference in the health of your corals, just giving them that opportunity to actually eat stuff. To please, Than, is the plumber finished? The plumber's never going to be finished. he's a lifer here now. He's family. Now he got done with the heating system for this building, but we're actually having him replicate a lot of that heating system over at the greenhouse as well. So the heating system that is here, we're going to be trenching a line that goes to the other building and running lines, insulating those lines underground and everything like that. and have it do its thing on that end. There's like so many different plumbing projects. And once we finally get aquariums, I'm just gonna have him do all of it. Like, yeah, it's not gonna be inexpensive, but there are some savings to be had. So I had requested him to do like this, like a water top-off system that's kind of manual, but we're doing like a freshwater and a saltwater, more or less a faucet, right by every single sump. Yeah, so like if we did like a water change, turn on the saltwater one to replenish. We just need to top off freshwater one. And both of those lines are going to be pressurized, so it literally is just a faucet. It's not like, oh, you need to turn on this pump and open this valve and stuff. So he's using all Schedule 80 for all of that. Like 30-foot runs of Schedule 80 pipe. Not just the fittings, the pipe and everything, okay? It looks so sexy. Like, I haven't gotten the bill yet, but
looks good.
It looks really good. And all of that is going to be replicated in the greenhouse. So once we actually get our aquariums, I'm having him do all of that in Schedule 80. It's going to look so sick.
That will look nice.
How big does a fungia need to be to make babies? So fungia, so a lot of things get categorized as fungia, first of all. Some of them kind of don't make babies. But I mean, generally speaking, it's a pretty large coral. I mean, it could get like 9 inches before it even does anything. Not sure if that answered your question at all, but it really kind of depends on what you have or what you're looking to get. Acidic Breed is asking, what's better for Sump, Skimmer with biopellets? Or somebody was asking, like, why aren't biopellets good? Adam was asking, can you elaborate on that? So Skimmer with biopellets, small frag section, and go GFO or refugium with oh boy. I don't follow your question, I'm sorry.
So what's better, a skimmer with biopellets, a small frag section, and GFO, or just a refugium with GFO?
I would almost go with neither.
A skimmer?
Skimmer's great.
Refugium
pretty good.
Fun and moderate use of GFO. What's wrong with biopellets, or can you elaborate on it? Aren't good. I'm not saying that they're not good. They might be too good, and maybe I just overused them. But just from my observations on my tank alone, it seemed to consume or strip the water of something that was beneficial to a lot of corals. So,
in other words, it's just too aggressive.
It was very aggressive. So yeah, you may be able to reduce the flow or use a smaller amount, but I just experimented and took them off my tank, and that has worked very well. So I have not looked back. So I think, like, there's you can use them in some way probably for a beneficial, I'm sure, but I wasn't gonna play that game anymore and try and tweak it when I started to employ larger automatic water changes, and that really kind of helped that facet too of water cleanliness, if you will.
So Yojo Cromwood is asking, why are you not using refugiums? What is more natural and will save you on water and many more benefits? So here's the thing.
Go ahead.
I like refugiums, and you do use.
I have a small container that's a refugium.
Yeah, a lot of my tanks are basically refugiums. Also, here's the problem that I have.
Yeah, your stock tanks are refugiums that under the grate, basically.
Yeah, my big problem with a refugium in a traditional sense in a home aquarium is I hate pests. Like, just having dealt with pest issues in a commercial setting for a very, very long time, this is what I've realized. If you have a tank that does not have pest control for some reason or another, And oftentimes because it's too small, I have like a 30-gallon tank or several 30-gallon tanks. And most of my tanks are like over 100 gallons. And so in there I have like copper bands, I have Melanaris wrasses, I have tangs, fox faces and whatnot to kind of like deal with all these issues, right? The reason why a particular entire system might still struggle with some persistent pests is because they live in the refugium and they just hang out unfettered forever. And that's like my biggest like pet peeve. It's like sometimes we have like this lush, like really nice caulerpa forest. And I love like picking, through the caulerpa, feeding it to the tangs and stuff like that. And then you start to notice like, oh.
All the demons live in there.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I can definitely tell that there's something left completely unchecked in this tank. And that's my biggest knock on it.
That, and they can get real dirty. Like mine, it's lower flow compartment under my tank in the sump area. But I never clean it out. It's not a problem right now, but I could see it could be a problem at some point, or for some people. It wouldn't be that difficult to clean, but it's not something that would be routine.
Yeah. So real quick, Joseph Lohman said that he lost some shipments from last week. Send us an email and some pictures if you have it, and we'll get you taken care of. Because there is a policy, both like a replacement or a refund policy. It's a 7-day guarantee. So definitely email us. So David Joseph Garcia on Facebook was wondering about feeding. I think we answered that one. Okay, what pump system do you use for automatic water changes? So Kyle Aquarium is asking.
I use the SpectraPure Liter Meter 3 pumps. It has the main unit, and then you can plug in an additional pump. So one pump pumps water out of the tank, broken into 150 different increments throughout the day, so little bits at a time. And then the other pump pumps 100 whatever gallons, 14 gallons or 10 gallons, divided 150 times into the tank. I have a 55-gallon barrel for the saltwater mix, so I have to mix that up once every 4 or 5 days. But I do have room for a bigger reservoir tank now, so I won't have to mix it often once I...
Why do you have a big... Why is that?
The home edition, we don't do that room was the laundry room, but it's not a laundry room anymore.
The laundry room. Okay, yeah. Gotcha.
I do have we got a new dryer because we need a stackable one, so I just need to get the old dryer out of there, and then I have a nice space for a nice tall, couple 100-gallon tank.
Nice. So speaking of, somebody was asking like, does your plumber now want an aquarium? And I think he kind of does, but...
Wait till he plumbs them all.
Yeah.
All your new ones.
But we've actually done some horse trading with some contractors that have done work on this building. And I just tell them straight up, it's like, how much credit do you want? Like, if you think you can spend 10 grand, you can have 10 grand in credit here. Because I know I can spend 10 grand in construction stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Murphy's like, missing all fans, Candy being here at work. Why are you at work on Saturday at 3? That's awful. Like, why am I working at Saturday at 3? So wait a minute. Yeah. That's me.
I'm going to go get a drink, if that's all right.
Okay. And when you get back, I am going to use the restroom. And so you can host my program for a second. Craig Price is asking, where is the Tidal Gardens barbecue? It is here in Akron, Ohio. At Tidal Gardens. It's going to be a good time, I promise. It's like the Tidal Gardens barbecue, aka Rico Palooza. Checking out Facebook again to see if I've missed anything. Matthew Parker is asking, Than, thanks for everything you do for the hobby. I have several corals from Tidal Gardens and they're quite successful with Nanotank. Love your vids. Thank you, Matthew. Appreciate it. Yeah, these live shows are fun. I think that it's cool that we've been able to like build up a little community here, and at the same time, it's like you guys can check out just all the different corals that we have. Just because even if, for example, that you're not in like the U.S., because like a lot of the following and a lot of the people in chat, they're from other countries, and we can't ship to them. And it's cool that it's still a compelling and interesting show enough that people can see the cool corals, they can talk about the entire reefing hobby, industry, and whatnot, see different guests. It's very cool. So I appreciate like everybody in chat and everybody watching at home. Love all of this. And this is, to be perfectly honest, this is the easiest part of the live show, is actually sitting down and doing the live show. The preparation leading up to the live show, that can be a little challenging at times. I was talking to somebody about this. Like, I am currently the one that's shooting every single one of these corals, and the problem with that is there's no way that I can speed that up. It is 55 seconds per coral, no matter what, and it's like for the big show, like for like Halloween or for like Cyber Monday, it's like shoot, if we do 300 corals, that's a minute per coral, no matter what, that I'm gonna be sitting in front of this camera. So yeah, but then actually sitting down and doing the show live, chatting with you guys, super easy.
The bathroom, I'd laugh at the footprint size of that shower. Like you could hose down an elephant in there.
It's the bathrooms in here are rather opulent.
They're nice.
They're nice. Like
you even have the fancy toilet seats I see in there as well.
Yes, yes. The Japanese toilets. Yep. Spared no expense on that front. We don't have a kitchen yet though, or like the kitchen break room area, and like I'm sure that my mom's like, don't spend any money on this kitchen, and I'm like, that's not gonna happen. That's simply not possible. That's gonna be a really nice space one day, but we have no plans at all. No budget in mind for it, meaning like. It's not no budget like my tanks. It's like no budget as in $0. Like my tanks, they don't really have a budget, but I will be directing some resources towards them. So Jessica J is asking, are Alveopora difficult to keep? Not necessarily. I think that that Goniopora tend to have a worse reputation. Alveopora, they're sensitive, but they're not like impossible by any stretch of the imagination. I'd say towards like the upper 50% of LPSs as far as like challenging. So it's not super, super easy, but at the same time, it's not something that I would recommend people stay away from. And that's not just because I'm selling it. It actually does pretty well. Dayton, he's spending $1,200 on U-Lights for 36 by 22 SPS tank. What should I get?
Orphic Atlantic LED fixture. I'm becoming bigger and bigger fan as I'm getting more and more success under them.
Okay. $1,200. So me, I would go one of two routes. Either do something like Ecotech Radeon based, or save a ton of money and go with the T5. And I still like T5 a lot. Okay, so is Acan echinata not a Micromusa? Acan echinata is still an Acan. Acan bowerbanki is still an Acan, I think. So I'm sure somebody's going to correct me in chat if I'm wrong, but I think that those are still Acanthastria. I'm looking for advice on Sump and Skimmer.
Yes.
So I have like a very different idea of what makes a good sump. I think a lot of times when people start to shop around for sumps, they like all the different partitions, they like all the different bubble traps and whatnot, and everything kind of like fits nice and tightly in its own little spot. I'm like the exact opposite. I just want a completely blank open area and I'll figure it out later. So my type of sump is just, it's just 4 walls and a bottom. You've gone quite a bit more elaborate with yours because also,
But it's
you have to fit it under your stand. You know, like I don't.
But at the same time, I have 3 sections of it. One is a big open area for this. I found, you know, the compartmentalized sumps restrict where you can put things or what you can do, and I find that the open palette is much nicer, much more flexibility for future.
And just being able to get in there and clean stuff, taking equipment out and servicing it, like.
And if you ever want to add something, you have the space for it.
Yeah, as we are prone to do at times.
Yes,
so.
add things, subtract things, add a bigger skimmer.
Exactly. I will be right back to my opulent bathroom. So if you have questions for Nathan, now's the time.
Oh, you're gonna let me talk finally?
Yes. It's your show now, Nathan.
Yeah. Water changes are the very best way to keep a tank in great shape. I agree. So is anyone actually planning to come? Who is already? Can you actually buy tickets for the cookout next year? I believe I've heard that they are available. Who's planning for the Tidal Gardens picnic cookout? Back to Dayton Digman. I like LEDs and I've had success with them with all types of corals, but I've seen metal halides and T5s have, obviously they're proven and have had success as well. But if it were up to me, I would be buying the Orphic Atlantic LEDs. I have those over my frag tank, and I would consider using those over my display tank if I ever need to replace them. Currently I have the AI Soul Blues, but the Atlantic, the Orphic Atlantic, really gives a very close look to T5s or metal halides when they're on full blast or full spectrum. They look very similar to tanks lit up by those types of lights. So, and that's where I actually just recently added some millies underneath those Atlantics, and that's the first time I've really tried to go back to millies. I haven't had a whole lot of success with those because my display tank's not overly bright, and I think they need a little bit more light and flow, and I'm having success with those in the frag tank under those Atlantic lights. So,
my only criticism of the Orphic Atlantic. Thank you. He's like pointing towards the mic. It's like, you dummy.
Rookie.
My only issue with the Orphic Atlantic is that when I point my camera at it, nothing looks good.
It gives it, yeah, it messes.
It's really weird. Like more than any other LED.
Yes, it does. And it gives off this weird violet.
Yeah.
That you can't correct under a lot of, with under either pictures or in video.
Right, and it's like my camera's no slouch. Like the camera that you're currently seeing pointed at Nathan and I is every bit of $10,000, and it's really, really, really good. And I've been using it a long time. I know what I'm doing. I cannot shoot that darn frag tank of his for the life of me. It's like everything looks weird in there.
Yeah,
but if the corals like it, who cares if my camera likes it, right?
Yeah, if I messed around with the, it looks nice to the eye. It's the camera sensors that have trouble with it. Mm-hmm. We could possibly, I'd have to mess with the settings to try and find a better photography lighting for it, but that would take time, and
I don't
have
even
that
know.
motivation.
Yeah, I don't even know if that would even do it. How's the shading in Shimmer? Did you get him on that?
No, it's very good coverage. It's if you look at its construction, it's like how would you describe it? A long square with lights throughout it.
Yeah, it's a
It's
rectangle.
not like a puck. Yeah, it's not a puck. It's well distributed across the whole.
So I would
fixture.
not expect. I wouldn't expect it to be like have like shadowing area issues like a lot of the more directional LED fixtures have. You might get. Do you have any weirdness of like color stratification where you get like weird bands of like red and then blue and
Not that I notice, no, but
some people even like that look where it's like really highly stratified.
No, it's not to the point that it's ever really been noteworthy or I've noticed, so no.
So Craig Price is asking, did you say you don't prefer to use ChemiPure? I always thought ChemiPure was kind of like carbon. Am I wrong on that?
I don't know. I'm not. I just use straight up rocks carbon and high capacity GFO in small amounts, very small amounts.
Yeah, I don't use any of that. I don't use carbon at all. And my systems look a little bit yellower as a result.
I was going to say, I can definitely tell when it's time for new carbon because I start to see just a little bit of yellow in the water, especially if I'm getting water out for something and it's in the white bucket. And I'm like, oh, we got a little yellow tinge.
Yeah, when I pour my water into a white bucket, it is never white.
It's not clear.
Never. It's got a brownish yellow. It's like, Two Please. Again with the $1.09. See, everyone loves Two Please. That's a streamer because he makes it rain on us.
He aims to please.
So Two Please, I'm going to make you a moderator on this channel. If nothing else, you bought your way into the VIP. He's got into the VIP section. There you go. And Rika, hey, what's up? Glad you could make it. Oh, man. Lisa's Aquatics. Thank you so much, Lisa. Putting in all that work and putting in the money. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for participating for all this time, too. It's great. Everyone loves Lisa. Oh, man. So, one sec. So, I was getting a text from the Tidal mom about her flight. Okay.
Spend the night at the airport.
They will be showing up tomorrow. But they're on a standby list, might get an earlier flight. I'm thinking tomorrow sounds better. It's like, I don't want to get a text at like 4 a.m. saying, come get me at the airport. Like,
11:44 Saturday, Sunday? Great.
Yeah, 4 a.m. this morning. Not as good. Not as good. Okay. Air King 200. I do have a 220 in the house, but I want to spend money right the first time and need to then suggest a Sump and Skimmer for me. Looked at the Sump video 6 times. Oh, I appreciate you viewing it 6 times. Get that watch time up. Yeah, again, so my philosophy when it comes to sumps is to have the most versatility possible. You're not really going to, I mean, I understand your sentiment of wanting to buy it right the first time. And you can do that by just getting a high quality product, but you don't necessarily have to make all of like the really in-depth decisions about all the specific functions of that sump, if you know what I mean. I would just get something well built, but it's highly customizable after the fact, because the one thing I learned about this whole hobby, and especially with like trying to do commercial facilities and stuff, the world is a very different place 5 years from now. And you just cannot anticipate what you're going to need. We are currently in, this is like seemingly a tangent, but trust me, it does relate. We're in a 1,500 square foot studio. Like, when I first started this company, never once did I think I needed to build a studio at my greenhouse. And similarly, all the stuff that went into those aquariums when I first started had to be adjusted as time went on. The entire idea of the greenhouse had to be adjusted, and we went with a lot more different commercially available fixtures and stuff. It just didn't rely on the sun, for example. And the whole point of the greenhouse was to take advantage of the sun. So when you're shopping for something like a sump that has so many possible functionalities, don't try to work all of that out on day one. Just make sure that like if things needed to be changed, you're not locked into a very very specific compartmentalized device. So that's my recommendation there. As far as skimmers go, these days there's a lot of good choices. I don't really have a favorite. We currently use like a mishmash of skimmers. What skimmer do you use?
I was trying to look up to remember the name of it. It's an Aquamax skimmer, and I don't remember exactly which one it was, but I do like it. And I also had I got that skimmer because I needed a bigger skimmer after I added the frag tank to the system. But I used to have a Super Reef Octopus. I think it was the 2000. Does that sound right? Which is a fantastic skimmer to this day. Friends of mine have it on their systems, so I think highly of those as well.
Yeah, so, Reef Octopus, we've used those quite extensively.
Yeah, there's
you can spend tons of money on them. I think the only thing that I would recommend not doing is getting something that basically is so cheap that it doesn't actually function as a skimmer. Because like these days there are so many mid-level skimmers that work really, really, really well. And to go from like a super cheap piece of junk that doesn't work to one of those middle tier skimmers, there's no cost difference. I mean, there's none at all. So I don't know what size tank that you said the 220? 220, yeah. Okay.
So like I was thinking the Super Reef Octopus, either it's the 2000 or 3000.
You could go that route. I tend to like the fit and finish of Vertex skimmers quite a lot. So if you can find one that's appropriately sized, probably the largest, not a Vertex Alpha, but maybe like the largest Vertex Omega might do well for you. Yeah, check something like that. I think you can get an Omega 250. It's been a while since I shot for
I can't remember. I know the brands, but I don't know the actual model for some of those.
So Lisa's saying that she's got a hang-on back Reef Octopus and really likes it. Yeah, Reef Octopus is, I think you'll be happy with the Reef Octopus if you just get one appropriately sized. And the nice thing about Reef Octopus, because here's the thing about protein skimmers, guys. It is a cylinder or a cone made out of acrylic. That's the functional portion. The only thing that can really go wrong is the pump. And don't buy a skimmer that has a pump that you cannot replace very easily or costs a fortune to replace. So that's why I'm not a big fan of like things like Red Dragons and stuff, because besides the fact that I've owned 2 Red Dragons and both of them absolutely failed, like irreparably failed, and it's like $800 per pump. It's like, I'm not about that life anymore. So a Reef Octopus is like a couple $100 for their biggest pump. Their biggest pump is like a couple $100 or something.
Somebody I know though has a great saying: buy it nice or buy it twice.
That is true, but
is he still watching?
He might be. Definitely, but we are talking about buying it nice.
I know.
But here's the thing. It's like this, okay, guys? A Ferrari might be a nice car. It will always be at the shop. For all you out there that have Ferrari problems, you'll know what I'm talking about. That is always going to be at the shop. You don't need to worry about its performance ratings or anything. Those cars always break. That's just what happens. So, yeah, you don't need to buy it that nice. Just want to just tone it down. Get that Honda Accord. It'll work out great. Right. And if it breaks, buy another Honda Accord. Oh, you guys rock. Thanks a million. Awesome, Air King. Glad we could help. Out of curiosity, is that name named after a Rolex? People are going to be like, this damn 1%er.
What name?
Air King. That's a name. That's a name of a Rolex model. Oh. I don't know if it is or not.
It's out of my my league.
You don't go home to tell your wife, it's like, kids aren't going to go to college because I got me a Rollie.
I'm getting a Rolex. No, my kids aren't going to college for a reason. It's because I'm getting a bigger aquarium. All right, so that's going to be
priorities.
Yeah, then the Rolex can come after.
Oh man, Nios Quantum 160, best skimmer I've ever owned. I don't doubt it. I think that I've heard good things about it. I've seen them before. It looked nice. One thing that I do want for my skimmers in the future is that paddle wiper, the automatic wiper blade thing.
That cleans the inside of the skimmer.
Yeah, and it just has like the big paddles that just kind of go and spray down and all that stuff. Don't need to be hiring employees to do that. It can be replaced by a machine. So Diacanthus says, I prefer Vertex's air silencing methods to reef octopus. Okay, I always thought they were kind of similar, like those little silencer clips.
Yeah,
but the Varios line of reef octopus skimmer pumps have always killed it for me. So reef octopus Regal 200 internal at the moment.
There's somebody that knows a little thing about equipment.
Yeah. By the way, I just realized that we are officially 10 minutes into overtime.
Oh.
Like so again, thank you all for watching the entire show, for those that have made it all the way through. So that the video loops back around and we're back onto basically item number 10 now. So yeah, we can hang out for a little bit longer. I mean, do you still got time?
Yeah, I'm just checking the Ohio State score. They
were getting it handed to them early.
It's tied 38-38 against Maryland.
Yeah, nice D.
Oh, I don't know how much rushing yards they gave up, but they gave up a ton of rushing yards.
I did see that. I did see that. So I joke about Rico, who I did see in stream. Rico, I saw you. I joke about how like Rico and I are so different. You know, like, and I always joke about how people that see us at a show or something might be wondering, like, how the heck do those two even know each other or even get along? Because they're so different. And again, we kind of have that with Nathan and I, because he went to Ohio State.
That's true.
I went to Michigan. We don't like each other.
Yeah, can't stand each other.
You know, like in a week, next weekend, we're not going to be friends. Not for a little bit.
Your first time in many years, you may be favored.
Mm-hmm.
And
we'll see.
I think it's a warranted favor.
It's due. We're due. Michigan needs.
I stopped talking trash to Michigan fans because I felt bad for them. That's how bad it's been for you guys. You know, it's cyclical. Like back when I was in high school, it was the exact opposite. Where like Michigan won like 12 of 13 games or something, and it was like, OSU is trash. That's not even a rivalry anymore. And then it's like you started hiring like these like super corrupt coaches that like got like that are now like, you know, like shamed into retirement. You hire some loose-wired crazy guy, and it's
we hired a few of them. We hired a few of them though. That's the thing, like Rich Rodriguez and stuff like that.
Yeah,
these guys.
All kind of nuts.
Yeah, they're all kind of nuts. So anyway, but now we're paying our players the highest salary imaginable for college athletes, and we're back into winning. Dave Davis says, I'm not buying at the moment. My tank crashed and going through an upgrade. Oh, that sucks, Dave. You know,
the upgrade part's cool.
The upgrade part,
you know,
there are some some silver linings, because sometimes it takes like some traumatic event to make you restart everything. I'm like, well, now that I'm restarting everything, there's all this stuff that would have done better. So it's an opportunity. Yes, 2 Please gets it. Rico is Batman, Than is the Joker. Yes.
Michigan owns the overall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at the last 50 years, though. Back when Michigan started or had a football team in the late 18.
Yeah, but people see. Okay.
In our lifetime.
I get the argument, but at the same time, I always hear that sort of argument. Like, if you ignore like the first 100 years where we stopped the entire country, or like this is my favorite, because like, you know, we're in Northeast Ohio, we're like presumably Browns fans. I'm kind of not, but anyway, there was this one game, and I'm sorry to like take this like little sidetrack, but we're in overtime, where I think it was like Lewis from the Ravens ran for like 1 billion yards against the Browns. Okay, he set the NFL rushing record for a single game against the Browns. And the next thing I heard in class the next day was, well, if you took away his 3 touchdown runs over 50 yards, he wouldn't have gotten that. Like, yeah, this dude broke out for 3 50-plus yard runs on you.
Take those away.
But if you take those away, yeah, he only had like 100 and something yards. It wasn't that bad. No, it's pretty bad. So yeah, you can't ignore all the winning.
Oh, I just considered my lifetime.
How old are you?
38.
Okay.
Well, it might be even better.
It might be better if this
for Ohio State's perspective.
Yeah.
I actually went to Ohio State during its probably worst football time period of the past 40, 50 years. That's when I was at Ohio State.
Was it
the
so
end
Cooper?
Of, that was the end of Cooper.
End of Cooper.
Yep, beginning of Tressel.
Should I put Tupperware on the bottom of the tank? Matthew G.
Probably not.
Depends on what you want. Why do you want Tupperware on the bottom of the tank?
Like, it's not going to hurt anything.
Yeah, I mean, did you just want to put like some sand in the Tupperware or something? I mean, I've done that.
Yeah,
just to give like wrasses a place to sleep. Craig Price says, I love OT because they just talk about whatever. Lisa, I've got to go, but thanks for the stream. Hoping one day you'll add Canada shipping. Have a good night, everyone. Good night, Lisa.
We're so close to Canada, too.
I know, but that border, it's like they're going to build a wall.
Holy cow.
How old were you when you started Tidal Gardens? Shoot, how old am I now? Shoot, Tidal Gardens is probably like 15 years old now, something like that. And it was started with a little bit, so okay, first of all, you always need to have some form of help, right? So my parents helped out a lot. I was working full-time like for pretty much the whole time until like the last maybe like 5 or 6 years. So Tidal Gardens was always like a part-time thing in the background. But what really kind of like kickstarted the whole thing was that I had won about $30,000 in a business plan competition. And that helped monetarily, obviously. But the biggest thing that helped there was that it showed a lot of people that were kind of on the fence about my idea of this to fully come on board. And like that was what really helped more than just like the prize money and the notoriety and like the local business community. It was just like, you know, a lot of people that could really step in and help at that point were like completely in on that, because it's like, oh, okay, if you know you've won this prestigious business award and the business community thinks this is a good idea, we trust them also. Like this third party thing, because it's like
third party verification.
Exactly,
right?
CITES is the Canada-U.S. problem, not shipping. Correct, Kyle Aquaria. That is the...
Load a boat up and go across the lake, you're good.
Don't Don't do
Moonshine
that.
run.
Because you know what? You know what's crazy? Like I was having this conversation with somebody that does work in import export of CITES stuff, and she was basically saying that like in Canada, if you mess up CITES, it's not the biggest deal in the world. You're just going to get a fine. In the U.S., it's criminal. So like you need to make sure that your CITES stuff is really good, because not only are you facing a 5-figure fine, but it's like a felony. So it's like it can get really bad really fast. So yeah, be careful. And I'm like, this is like making me not want to do this as much. 2 please with the $1.99 again. You see? Everybody loves 2 please.
I would agree.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
He appreciates overtime, or she. They.
My name's Martin. Give MD sub, please. I don't know what that means, but does it mean that Maryland beat Ohio State?
They might take a go-ahead score with 2 minutes left.
No. It sounds like your parents are into reefing too. Is that right? They didn't used to be. And when we initially built the greenhouse next door, the entire idea was that they would do half of it with orchids, and I would do the other half with corals. And slowly the coral stuff pushed out the orchid stuff, and then my parents became much more into corals. Nowadays, they're 100% into corals. Yeah, you can get jail fines and jail trafficking in endangered species. Yep, that could totally happen. Yeah, 2 please. You love spreading the sugar. Yeah, he's like the $1.99 king. It's like I see him on Rico's stream. He drops that $1.99. I'm like, 2 please is cheating on me. No, I'm kidding. No, but he supports a lot of different streamers. So everybody in chat, please, like when you see 2 please, show him some love. He makes like people that donate and stuff. Like I mean, obviously, like Tidal Gardens, like we're a profit-making business venture. Like we're not exactly the most sympathetic, I guess, creator to be donating to. So I totally get that. But a lot of other people need it like way more than we do. And so like people like 2 please and other people that donate, like that helps out a YouTube creator so much that, trust me, even if it makes like a big, like an impact for me, it's 10 times that much for some of the other smaller creators. So you guys, you do you. That's fantastic. Uh-oh.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler, Craig Price.
Well, thankfully, minute 45 is at least an opportunity.
To lose.
Even though it's like it feels like a loss, even if Ohio State ends up pulling it out.
No, what would be really bad?
A loss is a loss.
If Ohio State like loses this game but still beats Michigan, I'd be like,
yeah,
because I don't care if like Maryland, but that'd be bad. Oh, thanks, Dan. Thank you again, 2 please. See. So guys, I guess like last couple thoughts here, and people have been like tossing it into chat. We have picked a date for the barbecue.
Oh yeah, I asked about that before you, or when you walked away, but.
Like, what the hell is up with the barbecue?
I wasn't sure if you had picked a date, and I was asking if anyone was planning to make the trip.
Oh yeah, hopefully you can make it. It'll be a good time.
When's the date?
It is. So the link is. I always like put the wrong link for my own barbecue. It's not tidalgardens.eventbrite.com. It's tidalgardensbbq.eventbrite.com. So it's. Oh, I was about to do it again. Okay, so if you go to that, it is in like the 3rd weekend in July, I believe. It is Saturday, July 27th. So hopefully y'all can attend that. So Diacanthus Reef's got my back. So he put the link in there. It is $25, and that's basically for the food budget. We're going to be doing like some giveaways, and I guarantee whatever is in the goodie bag is going to be 10 times more valuable than the $25 thing. The $25 thing is just going to be paying for food. I promise that. The other thing is we actually came up with some more different types of merchandise and swag. So if you're on YouTube, you can see that stuff just below the video itself. So if you wanted to get a Tidal Gardens t-shirt, you can help yourself there. I actually need to buy myself one of those. But yeah, it's been a while since we've had any kind of like t-shirts or anything like that made. So I'm actually kind of like looking forward to putting up more and more designs. And as soon as I figure out the logistics of it, I want to do like a t-shirt design contest where like maybe we'll make more than 3 of the different shirts, but at least the first 3, like the top 3, I'm thinking about doing like pretty decent sized like Tidal Gardens gift cards, like $500, $300, and $100 or something like that. So as soon as I can figure out like the logistics of doing all that and allowing people to vote on the designs, all that fun stuff, once I figure all that out, we'll put all of the user submitted designs up there too. 2 please, how much are the tickets? They're $25. 25. All right. Any last questions for Nathan here? Looks like we are about half hour into overtime. So I see somebody greetings for Germany. 2 please is like, yeah. So, okay. So for the barbecue page, we've done nothing except put the date up there. There's like no design or anything yet. We'll get to that. We've been busy lately. But yeah, we'll definitely get that going. Because I mean, it's in July, guys. It's like 10 months away or something. Yeah. It's a little while.
We have a winter to go through first.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like a summer barbecue, but we're looking forward to putting on a good show for you guys. Like my idea is to not only to have a lot of people come over here, meet different YouTube personalities. I mean, I'm going to be putting out some invites to people that you've heard of, and hopefully they can come. But on top of that, I want to live stream like the whole event and make it so like the folks that couldn't make it or had no intention of coming to Ohio could also kind of experience the whole thing with us. It's almost like you could virtually attend the show and attend the barbecue. You know, go buy your favorite barbecue. Like especially like the folks in Texas are like, I don't need to go to Ohio for barbecue. Go get your favorite barbecue. Sit at home. Turn on YouTube. Turn on Facebook. Come hang out with us. So I want to make it like an in-person, obviously an open house for Tidal Gardens, as well as a very like a digital experience for the folks that couldn't be here as well. So there you go. Adam says, you got me into Blasto stand. I thank you, my wallet does not. That's a shame because there's some really nice Blastos out there now.
And biopellets and Blastos don't play nice together. I've learned that.
That does not surprise me. So Eric King is saying, I'm reading that you can buy a skimmer too powerful for your tank and it doesn't skim properly. Can you touch on that? Okay, so there's 2 different things going on there. One thing is the idea that a skimmer that's oversized won't actually skim because there's not enough stuff in the water. What's your take on that? Do you think that's a thing?
I mean, if the volume of the skimmer is so big and I probably couldn't create the foam over time, but I think it is possible to overskim.
So that's the second thing.
Yes.
Nowadays, certain skimmer designs, especially like a lot of the needle wheel ones, are so efficient that I think it is possible to completely overskim a tank now. Like before, I would just think that's not a thing, right? But these days, yeah, I could kind of see it. One of my friends, he uses like I think he uses the largest MRC skimmer, and he's thinking of scaling it down or turning it off on certain days because he thinks it's doing too much work.
I know people have done that and seen some positive results. So going back, he's asking biopellets and blastos are good or bad. For me, biopellets and blastos were not a good mix. Going back to my point where I felt that the biopellets were depleting the water of something corals liked. Blastos were one of those corals that suffered when I had, maybe I was just using too many biopellets, but I've added a blasto since removing biopellets and have had success again. So
Dayton Dingham is like asking, Dan, because we're in overtime, what do you think of Vanilla WoW? Vanilla WoW is the best WoW.
What is Vanilla WoW?
World of Warcraft.
Like the original World?
So World of Warcraft, like the initial implementation of it, they call vanilla now. So that's before like
all the
Burning Crusade expansions and stuff like that. Vanilla WoW was my jam. Like I played 40 hours a week of World of Warcraft in vanilla during law school and working. It was a oddly productive time in my life.
In all facets.
Yeah, I was working as what was I doing? Like biotechnology consulting in law school, and was a high-ranking leader of a raiding guild in World of Warcraft.
High-ranking leader. I never got into World of Warcraft for one reason. I knew it would be bad for me, and because I like video games and I like that kind of stuff, and I just didn't. I never ventured into it.
Yeah, I'd say I heard they're making vanilla its own game. Yeah, they probably should.
And then I just did get Battlefield 5, which my friends and I played back before I was married or had kids. I played a ton of Battlefield, so I got Battlefield 5 because one of my other friends is like, I'm getting it. And I was like, oh, I'll get it. I was up till 1 o'clock last night playing it with them. I was like, oh, I gotta go
trouble,
to bed.
Isn't it?
It was so fun though. And my son's sitting there watching, not at 1 o'clock, but earlier in the evening, he's watching it and he's loving it, just watching.
So like my problem right now is this, okay? I feel like if you're gonna be playing video games now, you should be streaming it. Like, and so I right now the only games I play like Clash of Clans on my phone, and I'm like, I
haven't touched that in forever.
I'm gonna get kicked out of my guild or my clan any day now because of how inactive I am. And they're all psychos. Like this particular.
Are you in the same one that we were in?
No, they kicked me out.
I was gonna say I'm sure I'm kicked out of that because I haven't been in it forever.
So I barely play that trash, right? That phone trash. But then I started playing Darkest Dungeon on my computer here. And if you guys know what Darkest Dungeon is, it's like this little indie game. It's like intentionally frustrating and super challenging and like rage-inducing. And I was like, I should be streaming this. But then I think I should be doing actual work. Why don't I not stream all the video games that I'm playing, stop playing the video games, and getting some work done? Because here's the thing. I bet like the minute I start streaming video games, all the people in chat are like, why aren't you making a video? Yeah. Like, why am I watching you not make a video?
Why is there not coral on the screen?
Yeah. So there you go. All right, guys. I think we're good, right? Get 38 corals worth of overtime. Thanks everybody for attending. Hopefully you saw some LPS that you liked and picked up. As far as shipping goes, I don't think that there's any holidays or anything like that. So we're probably going to get everything out either Monday or Tuesday. We'll be emailing everybody Sunday, tomorrow.
And the Ohio State game is now tied 45-45 with 40 seconds left.
Oh.
It took Ohio State a minute to score to tie it.
Oh.
I don't know. It doesn't seem like they have any ability to stop Maryland with 40 seconds left.
Wheels. College overtime's weird. We need to talk about that. I'm not really sure how that works. Dan, play Diablo 3 with me. We'll see.
I don't know. I played that when it came out.
And speaking of phone trash, Diablo Immortal.
I heard the rage about it.
There's all this drama there. Thanks again, Two Please. Oh my gosh, that's like $10 or something so far. So again, guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and yeah, who knows? Maybe you will see me not make videos on stream one day.